get Glenn out of there. Get Glenn out of there. You got to get somebody in there that the players respect. Get Glenn out of there. Well, on Glenn Rivers, a.k.a. Glenn Shivers, a.k.a. Glenn Quivers. Yeah, I have to agree with your statement there. He doesn't make adjustments.
Another day, another dollar.
And you know what make me want to holla? You already know.
Sheed coming to you live from Chicago, where the NBA Draft Combine is being held this week. The kid that he is mentoring, teaching, coaching, that you may have seen in those couple of those viral videos with you in the gym, going through the whole don't cross over here. You know, one of those videos with Bonzi went crazy viral. But the kid is headed to the combine. Sheed is there, being a part of it. We have the draft lottery there as well, all overlapping with the NBA playoffs simultaneously. Do you get excited to go on trips like this, by the way, or is this a business trip for you in Chicago?
No, this is a business trip. This straight business trip. I'm excited, of course, for all the future millionaires that's out here. Definitely, but no, this is a business trip.
And your kid, does he know like what he's projected to be? Is he trying to be?
I don't think so. I don't think his agent shared that information with him on purpose. So I'm not 100% sure where he's projected at, first or second round. To me, it really didn't matter, as long as I made sure that he was ready.
And well, now you got me interested in this, because when you came into the league in 1994,
five.
Did they have a draft combine back then? Did you do tryouts for teams? Like, is it the same now as it was then, pretty much?
Well, of course the drills are a little bit different. But no, I tried out. I didn't try out. I worked out for like the first 4 or 5 teams, because my agent had told me I was projected to go within the first 5. So I was like, all right, I'll work out for, them 5 teams or whatever. And when I did that, at first it started here at the combine. So, they take your vertical jump. They do the little shuttle run. They do a 40-yard run, see how fast you are. Do all the little agility type drills and skills. And so for me, that was no problem. But then when it came to individually working out for the different teams, well, you could run into some problems, because one, you don't know if you're going to be working out by yourself or if you're going to be working out with some other guys. And what that does, if you're working out by yourself, like, damn, you got to be in tip-top shape, because some of those player development guys, they going to run you to death and try to work you as hard as they can in a little amount of time as they can to see how you gonna react. So it's all fun though. It's a good thing. It's normal. It's nothing out of the ordinary. They do it for every sport. Like the combines in football and even combines and hockey and all that. So it's normal.
So as the NBA moves into the new collective bargaining agreement, if I'm not mistaken, there is going to be a clause of some kind that's requiring anyone that wants to be drafted has to participate in some version of the combine. I don't know if that's being implemented this year or in the near future, but now it's just got me thinking, because they televise those scrimmages on ESPN2 during the draft combine, and you not only could potentially in a world get Scoot versus Wembanyama again, because they had a battle when they were playing earlier this year in the G League Ignite versus Mets, but let's say someone like Brandon Miller in college, representing, I'm still from the old guard, the old traditional way of making the NBA is going to a big name college, Carolina and yourself, going up against the G League guy, the overtime elite guy, or the guy from coming over from the Euro League. And then you run these scrimmages, and maybe it could be a flea market version of the Dream Team in '92 in Barcelona, where they had their scrimmage, that you got all these young guys who are the best in the world. The first time they're all in the same gym together, they're competing for showing off, and it's almost when you walk the horses around the paddock, if you will, and you're kind of showing off and flaunting how good you are. Like, I don't know, maybe there's something here with the NBA Combine becomes a thing, in terms of competition, but you're there, you got feet on the ground. And We will certainly learn about that here in the near future. But let's get to the program. We like to start off every show with what we call a moment in time, where I take Rasheed Wallace back to a date in history, and I ask him, what on earth could you have possibly been doing on this day? Some are obvious, some are not, some are in between. And Sheed, you will not get this one, but we can put the pieces together. So the date is going to be December 26th. It's the day after Christmas, 2006. So you know what the team is, and you know it's regular season.
I think 2006, the day after Christmas, was it? Either we played San Antonio on Christmas or it might have been that day after Christmas. One of the two.
Okay, so you're playing the New Jersey Nets on this day, actually.
Okay.
And I found a video where poor Jason Maxiell is a rookie in the NBA, and he's trying to give an interview to Fox Sports Detroit over here. And you will quickly see that in the background, Rasheed Wallace is looking for basketballs. Now, why would Rasheed Wallace be looking for basketballs? Because he starts throwing them full speed at Jason Maxiell during this interview that lasts almost 90 seconds, and y'all are pummeling him. Is this how we hazed rookies back in the day?
Oh my gosh! Oh, hey yo, that was hilarious, dog. That was hilarious. Look, so what it was, of course, it was the rookie thing, and I think Max was playing pretty good for the last few games, and so he had a little pregame interview. So we was just messing with him, just fucking with him, throwing the balls at him to see if he can keep his concentration during the interview. So it worked for a second, but oh man, that shit was hilarious though. That's my guy though, Jason Maxiell. That's my guy.
They bring up a good point here, because we're about to watch the angle where all y'all are winding up at the same time, simultaneously. Whack, all three, just getting drilled. And they bring up a good point, like Tayshaun's laughing it up. There's Dice laughing it up. Is that Lindsey Hunter? I can't tell, but it looked like Lindsey. You guys are just having a blast over here. And I guess when things are going well, you can mess around with each other like that. And that's just good chemistry. So a day in time. Whose idea was that, by the way? Was that you who took the first ball and then everyone else followed suit? You seem like the troublemaker.
Yeah. I was right there. See, I even tried to warn him. No, I yelled to him, "Watch out, Max."
Well, he's kind of doing an interview sheet.
Oh yeah. It was funny though. That's my guy.
Yeah. So 2006. I mean, what did you guys have rookies do as a part of like the hazing? Because now they buy Chick-fil-A for the whole plane. When you go on a road trip, or sometimes they fill their cars with popcorn and stuff like that. But has hazing changed at all? Is it always playful, or did you have these guys? You told the story about going to the mall and someone had to like buy a television for a player. But has it calmed down a little bit nowadays since then, or is it just?
No, it's still the same. But see, the thing was, it never was real bad. Like the veterans never really sat up there and really tried to just, go at it as far as like, hey, you do this, you buy this. It was like, all right, they really felt you out. And it was like, they only asked you once or twice to test your character. So like, if you down with it, you do it, then no problem. But if you don't do it, then, you're going to get a little resentment from the veterans.
Right.
So, okay, for instance, with Jermaine O'Neal. When Jermaine O'Neal was my rookie when I was in Portland. And just as you mentioned, he had a nice brand new Suburban. It was an extra long body. It was clean. It was green. It was nice. Had some nice rims on that joint. It was dope. So what we did one day, with him being a rookie, he had to come to the to the practice facility early. So when he came to the practice facility, his keys is already there. So he's in the gym. He's in the weight room doing this thing. And what we do, I take like 6 giant bag, like the value bag of popcorn from the arena, right? And boom, we stuff his car full of fucking pop. Open the sunroof, stuff his car full of motherfucking popcorn, and then crack the window a little bit so we could close the sunroof. Of course, birds and rain won't get it, but left it there. So then after practice, so he go out to the car. So we all out the window like this. We all looking out the window. As soon as he opened up the door, it wasn't nothing but a heap of damn popcorn that came out. He's like, man, what the fuck? Oh, he was hot for a second, but he laughed it off. He had to end up selling his car though. He's like, man, I can't get the popcorn smell out of my car.
Oh
So
shit!
it was fun. We did, just do little fun things like that. When I was in Detroit, I taped the rookie to a chair, and we rolled the chair into the shower, and so he was getting wet, and we dumped ice in his lap. Then we rolled him out on the floor in front of the news media and everybody. Oh, the shit was hilarious though. Like we never did nothing real serious or like really embarrassing to the rookies though. But it's all to test your character.
Did he enjoy being wheeled out in front of the press?
Oh, he was laughing at it. He was laughing at it too.
All right. Because I was thinking of like a scene from the movie Saw, where you've got these dudes like locked up with contraption, help me, or a freshman pledge in a fraternity that's sitting in a big lecture hall plugged in with Christmas lights all around him, and he's just miserable.
Hell yeah.
But as long as they're in on the joke, it's all good. But good to hear that some traditions are still alive. And you know what? Let me use that now as a segue to our main topic today, talking about traditions that are still alive. We are filming this the day after the Philadelphia 76ers, Rasheed's Philadelphia 76ers, have been eliminated from the NBA playoffs once again in dramatic fashion. And even before I get to the question in the topic sheet, I was talking with some 76ers fans last night during my post-game show, and we were giving like gold, silver, bronze medals away to the most devastating playoff losses in process history, meaning in the Joel Embiid era. And it's a consensus that the Kawhi Leonard shot in the corner is still number one. Some people were trying to argue this yesterday felt like number two. I don't know if I share that same sentiment. I had the Ben Simmons game where he didn't shoot the layup against Atlanta at home in Game 7 when they were favored. There was more of an expectation there. And then ultimately this game yesterday. But following those moments of demise or paralleling those is the history of Doc Rivers dating back to, let's call it the Lob City Clipper days, going back to 2015. There's so many stats out there, but he hasn't won a game in which he's had an opportunity to close out a series to go to the conference finals. I think since 2015, he's 0 for his last 10. Like, I don't even know which of these stats are true, but you name it. And he has simply just struggled to close out series with leads extensively in a massive sample size. And I'm leading off the show with this topic in question because for those of you watching, I haven't soon forgotten that the man on the other side of the screen here played for Doc Rivers on a team. Now, they made it to the finals. They ultimately lost to the Los Angeles Lakers in a dramatic, that could have gone either way if Meta World Peace decides to not make one big shot. But this is just a very long-winded way of me getting to the question here, which is, Rasheed, you've been in the trenches in some of the biggest games of both of your careers in you and Doc Rivers. The first thing I want to ask you is about the narrative going around the internet right now is Doc Rivers just doesn't make any adjustments. Doc Rivers is a choker. Doc Rivers is this and that. Can you set the record straight before I even start interrogating you and just give me an opening statement on Doc Rivers as a head coach?
Well, on Glenn Rivers, a.k.a. Glenn Shivers, a.k.a. Glenn Quivers, yeah, I have to agree with your statement there. He doesn't make adjustments. And that's just from being in the locker room with him for that one season. And just, again, I'm sitting back and I'm just, looking and recognizing about everything. But, man, that seems to always be his biggest knock, that he doesn't make adjustments when it comes to crunch time. If his team is up, significantly 15, 20 points, then okay, you don't really have to coach shit then. But when you in the trenches and you going against another team and another good coach, then hey, yeah, it comes down to not only just your all-star caliber players, but your all-star caliber coaches as well. Excuse me, who can recognize, okay, we need to block out more, we need to double this or do this, do that. But to me, the adjustment thing is not there for him, because In my opinion, when we were in Boston, Thibodeau had defense, and what was Kevin? I can't remember Kevin's last name, but he pretty much was the offensive coordinator for the Celtics. When they went on that championship run from like '08 to maybe 10 or 11. So, but you got to be more than a locker room manager on the floor. And then that's what it is. Like the adjustments, if you see that, okay, a certain player can't stop a certain player, don't keep that motherfucker on him. Yo, sub his ass out or go to a zone or double team. You got to do something. Do something outside of the box that's going to throw the other team in shambles. If not, we're going to have what we had again the other night. And I know I'm tired. I'm a diehard Sixers fan. I'm tired of this shit. I know that. I can tell you that. And I told people, going back to what you said, even about Ben Simmons, I told people in Philly, look, we shouldn't waste that number 1 pick on him. Everybody in Philly, oh, Sheed, you a hater. Quit hating on the young boy. Doing this, doing that. Now look, when we got Glenn Rivers for the coach, I'm telling people in Philly, oh, man, this shit right here is going to be this, it's going to be that. Nobody wanted to believe me. Now look, same thing with Honey Bun Harden. He's sitting up. It was bad for him to come to Philly, in my opinion. It was bad for him to come to Philly. It wasn't the type of team he was used to. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if he had that maturation to be the Robin to Embiid being Batman. Because in Houston, we all know it was the James Harden show down there. That man could do whatever he want when he was in Houston. But now when you go to another team that already has a main guy, an all-star, then that's your basketball IQ should tell you something like, all right, look, I'm following behind big fella. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to come with my regular game. I got to adjust my game for him because now I'm playing with a top-notch center, one of the best centers in the league. But, man, the shit is just frustrating, bro. It's frustrating.
So let me. This is unexpected for me because I was not expecting you to say he doesn't make adjustments. I was coming into this anticipating that he'll try some things and like this and that, but just to hear that no, this man does not make adjustments. Now I have to follow up, okay? And so let me take you back to Game 5 of this series. Joe Mazzulla is getting roasted over in open flame. This is the game that was in Boston. The series is tied at 2-2. And Mazzulla will not get out of pretty basic drop coverage that has Robert Williams and Al Horford staggered with their rotations and their minutes. And they're going into very basic when the 76ers are running a pick and roll with Maxey and Embiid or Harden and Embiid. These guys have wide open 18-foot jump shots because they're just allowing them to step into these as a part of the strategy. And they get destroyed as a result. The 76ers hit some shots, whatever. We go to Game 6, and Mazzulla says this didn't work. We get Robert Williams III in the starting lineup alongside Al Horford so that Al Horford can take on the assignment of Joel, which allows Robert Williams to play free safety the way that you and Ben Wallace, one of you would take the big defensive assignment. The other would be kind of that center fielder patrolling the paint. And as a result, everything that the 76ers were getting at the rim disappears. We go to Game 7. Same defensive strategy has been instituted there, and it works. Now, you don't get to 3 wins in a series like the 76ers did unless something is working. You won 3 games. So Doc is probably going into Game 6 and Game 7 saying, well, I got 3 wins in 5 games. I might as well stick with it. But when the Celtics make let's call it a home run swing adjustment with their defense, you have 2 choices. You can either stick with what works or you can see what they're doing and try and counter it. And based on your opening statement there, it sounds like Doc has a plan and follows through with it to the very end, regardless of the little minor chess moves that are made with minutes, rotations, defensive strategies, and whatnot. And before I get your response on this as well, I could see someone like Stan Van Gundy on Twitter is talking about how we throw coaches under the bus for not making adjustments, and then he'll pick out individual things that he saw about they were running pick and roll on the other side of the court so that Al Horford had to force Joel Embiid right instead of left. And those things could have very well occurred. But I want to use your experience in a locker room in a finals with Doc, that you guys went into that game 7 in Los Angeles. Were y'all running the same shit that you were running in game 1? Is he just trusting you guys to figure it out on the fly because that's his management style? Can you take me through the scout in the film room as to what you guys discussed between game 6 and game 7 under the leadership of Doc Rivers?
Well, I mean, I think in my opinion, he depends more on the players to make those adjustments because, you know, the players are the ones that's out there. And he's looking at it from the sideline. But that is true to a point. But also that coach, you have to come in there and make adjustments as well, especially if you know that what you're trying hasn't worked. So, we got to try something. Hey, switch your starting lineup up. You know what I'm saying? We start double teaming, this and that. But I think where we lost it at was when my guy decided to be a guard and stop being a big man. Because no disrespect to my guy Al Horford, that's my guy, my dude, and no disrespect to Robert Williams, but if Embiid would have stayed down there on that block, totally different outcome. Totally different outcome. But I guess they moved away from that block to try to move away from the double team. I don't know, but whatever it was, it didn't work when Glenn started putting him on an elbow. Because all that does is just help the defense. Because you seen how they just matched up. They didn't care. Like if Al Horford was guarding Embiid, you got Robert Williams to the left, you got Jaylen Brown to the right. And they didn't care who they were guarding, long as Embiid didn't get to that bucket. And they was just sitting right there, zoned up. So now that's going to force Embiid to pass that out or to take a tough shot over 2 or 3 people. And that's what's been happening, when he comes at the elbow, 1 dribble, 2 dribble, pull up, all Kevin Durant style. No, motherfucker, get your big ass down there on them blocks where you averaging like 25 or 30 and kill these dudes, yo. Like, what the fuck is going on? It's not hard. It ain't rocket science. It's simplicity. Yo, the biggest dude down, nobody in the league can stop him. Like on a one-on-one, it's probably maybe 2 or 3 other centers who might be able to match up with him with a one-on-one where they won't need no help. But other than that, everybody else needs help. Why? Because they too small. Here he is, 7'1", 7'2", 300-something pounds, and you want to be a guard. You want to come with hesitations and crossovers. Man, if you don't get your big ass down there, 2 dribbles and pound these motherfuckers to death, right now we'd be on our way to the damn East Coast Finals.
So, for the sake of creating good content, let me play devil's advocate for a second here. That in the first half of Game 7, Al Horford, as the primary defender on Joel Embiid, held him.
Too little.
He held him to 2 of 10 from the field. Yeah. And so Al Horford did his job. And again, I'm playing devil's advocate here, and there's part of me believing this, but Al Horford has probably defended Joel Embiid as good as any normal mortal human possibly can. They play each other 4 times during the regular season. Al Horford was on the 76ers recently. They've played now 7 times in the playoffs. Al Horford's been in the league forever. If there's anyone out there with the experience, you include Joel Embiid maybe not being 100% physically with his knee. I don't know if that's an excuse, but maybe that is the reason. It's not, but him being not the dominant basketball Godzilla that you continue to implore, I want to give Al Horford a little bit of credit here, even though he's too small. I get that point, but he put Joel Embiid in a position to fail as opposed to the 76ers putting Joel Embiid in a position to succeed, which means stop giving him the ball 30 feet away from the rim. What's he supposed to do with it out there? But if he doesn't go down to the block, right? And I see your frustration with it because your whole offensive, even on the Celtics, man, y'all were still playing that style of basketball that's dump it to the big man on the post and operate inside out. And now we live in a 2023 that even Joel Embiid is operating from the outside in to prioritize spacing. And whatever belief or school of basketball that you're from, At the end of the day, he has a lot of physical advantages over most people. But if Robert Williams is going to be out there as a free safety backing up Al Horford, I'm just trying to argue back that maybe it's not as easy as you make it sound in regards to Embiid just taking his head and bashing through the wall of the Celtics defense. They kind of tried that. And this ultimately is meant to come full circle here back to Doc Rivers. In that if you notice that it's not working for a game or a game and a half between the beginning of game 6 through halftime of game 7, why are we continuing to see the same strategies implied by this man? And ultimately, it sounds like when you get into the locker room for a game 7, it's just the status quo. Is that a fair hypothesis for me to say regarding the style of Doc Rivers, just trusting his guys maybe a little too much?
Yeah, pretty much, because he's not the type that's going to confront a player. So, like, let's just say
Speak on that.
Embiid.
Speak on that for me, please, because that's a big statement.
Okay, so
go ahead.
So what a lot of coaches do, all right, this is how it goes down in the league sometimes, y'all. So you got your head coach, no matter black or white. You got your head coach. Then you got your associate head coach who's second in command. 9 times out of 10, they're usually black. And those are the ones who the coach sends down there, down the bench or the locker room to talk to the guys to calm them down and all of that shit. That's Doc. Opposing to me coming out and be like, yo, man, fuck that, man. I ain't doing this shit no more. These bullshit plays, this and that. All Glenn gonna say, he might mumble a little something, but he's not gonna stand there and go toe-to-toe with you about it, or, you know what I'm saying? It's like, for me, you need that from some coaches. Like, I know that this coach, one, really care about this team, and two, you really want to win. Like, if you don't confront, or if you don't try to sit up there and you know what I'm saying, make a big fuss about the smallest little things when you that coach, like, dog, like, what the fuck you coaching for? Like, so when we were in that locker room, yeah, we had our game plan. Our game plan, of course, was to slow down Crazy 8. So, you know, we had and Meta, or Ron, Meta, whichever one, but had to slow them down. Because Meta was going on a big tear in the Western Conference Finals and the semifinals. And, you know, grade 8 was Crazy 8. You know, he did his thing. So our game plan was to slow them down. We knew we couldn't stop Kobe. We had to limit Pau Gasol's touches and put him in a majority of pick and roll. So, you know, we had our game plan. And for us, as far as the players out there on the floor, we were the one that made the adjustments. We would go, all right, come out the huddle. You know what I'm saying? Come out the timeout. And then right before we get on the floor, we huddle up like, all right, look, yo, hey, fuck that. We're going to do this. Boom, 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 boom. That's how it goes out there on the floor. But you need to have a coach who's not scared to say shit. But I think a lot of these NBA coaches are scared to say something because these little motherfuckers is making millions and millions of dollars. So now they like, oh shit, now I might not be here if I really tell him how I feel about him. The owner might get rid of me or this or that. Nah, fuck that. That's what's needed. You know what I'm saying? You can't pamper these cats now. Go out there and tell them, if they out there fucking up, yo, let them know they fucking up. You see what Monty Williams did to DeAndre Ayton, what, was it last year or the year before? When Ayton thought he was the man and like, yo, I deserve to get the ball more and this and that. What Monty Williams do? Sat his ass right down, face to face with him. Look, this is your role on this team. Boom, bang. It ain't going to be no boom, bang, boom. It's going to be boom, bang. And if you want the boom, then you can go. And what happened? Where was his ass at? He ended up right back there in Phoenix because Monty was straight up with him. And it's not saying that Monty didn't like him or nothing like that, but that's how you got to be with a lot of these kids out here, even on the collegiate and high school level. You can't be scared to say nothing to them. You can't be scared to let them know that when they did something wrong, or you can't be scared to cuss the little motherfuckers out because sometimes that's what's needed.
I got to admit, this is surprising to hear regarding Doc because he's not only a player who's been deep into the playoffs before with the Knicks and who else he played for, the Magic or whatever, and he's a head coach that has a ring, that's been to the finals multiple times, that's been in the playoffs for decades plus as a coach as well, that if anyone has the ability to say, I'm the law of the land because I know what I'm doing, you would figure it's Doc Rivers. The man has been involved in the game of basketball for decades and experienced and done everything. And I'm sure he has the respect of his peers as well. So to hear that the team that you played on with Boston, it was yourself, KG, Rondo, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce. These are as far into the veteran experience in career as it gets. And those are like that particular group is probably the most difficult to have those tough, we're doing things my way conversations because y'all, like you said, you've done it so many times. We're just going to walk out on the floor and do our own thing. And we may not respond well to a micromanager unless it's someone like Doc, who had just won a title as well. So his clout is at its ultimate peak in 2010, just a year and a half coming off a championship of his own. So to hear now with the current 76ers team that has what? PJ Tucker and James Harden, who I don't know has the accolades or accomplishments to be walking around like he's barking like he's Draymond Green or Steph Curry in a locker room. He's a veteran. He's an MVP. But as you always tell me, like the ring isn't on the finger just yet. And as a result, I don't know if you can be a true field marshal or whatever army analogy that you use here. So Doc should have it even easier now with this 76ers team than he's ever had it. And to hear that from you, to see JJ Redick on Twitter subtweeting Doc Rivers last night because Doc said some shit about how the Clippers didn't want to cooperate with him. And then JJ was like, he tweeted about like, oh, are they cooperating now? That tells me the rapport between the Lob City Clippers, they not only didn't like each other, but they didn't like Doc a whole lot as well. And they didn't agree with what was going on. And to hear you, lead off your opening statement, all of the nicknames and stuff. And now I'm starting to catch a little bit of a theme here that his management style is maybe too loose to the point that he's not necessarily getting the response that you would anticipate by granting the freedom, right? I'm making you your own boss. And while you have that luxury, you still have to perform. Otherwise, you make me look like the idiot for giving you that much leeway.
That light.
And
yeah.
I don't know if players, especially veteran players or MVP players, which the 76ers do have, now that I'm hearing some more substance to the conversation here, again, I'm surprised by it, but does Doc Rivers not have the pull that many people think he might? And that would be a reason to fire him, fire Doc Rivers, it's all you see every year. But he keeps getting his job back anyway, and he's got 2 years left on his deal. But maybe he doesn't get fired, man, because of that type of relationship, which we all anticipate was a given. But to me now, it sounds like it's not. So I'm thinking out loud here,
It's
tough. Go ahead.
It's tough. It's like, all right, with this, I got to try to. Talking about my Sixers, I got to put the emotions aside and come with real shit. So we definitely need that tough coach. We definitely need that hard-nosed coach. For the way that Glenn is, he's not that hard-nosed coach that we need. We need one of them coaches who are actually going to get down and dirty with the players and, do other things off of the court with the players and this and that, opposing to just texting or whatever. But from the way that it is, especially when and I'm just talking about us, us as the Sixers. Like, the city, we tired of the shit. Like, since he's been there, yeah, he had a couple of more wins each year. But it's still the same fucking effect at the end. And it was the same effect in Los Angeles. It was the same effect in Orlando. The only spot where he did have that success at and got past that hump was in Boston. But like I said, he had a mastermind offensive coordinator and a mastermind defensive coordinator. So it wasn't like he had to really do the X's and O's like that. So we just tired of that shit in Philly, man. Like, we want somebody in there who's going to be down for the players. And in my opinion, it's three people that really two or three people that we should keep on that team. Actually, four. Of course, the process, MVP. We can't get rid of him. Keep PJ Tucker believe it or not, no, he's not a big offensive guy,
No.
but PJ brings that toughness. He brings that leadership, that veteranship to that team that's needed.
100%.
In my opinion, Montrez should have played more in that Boston series because he can match that Robert Williams energy. So I think we should keep him. And of course, Tyrese Maxey.
Maxey.
Maxey's like that's our brightest star right there. That's our bright hope right there. Like when that young kid is out there playing on that floor, man, the Sixers, we like, damn, is this like a newer version of AI? Just like the way he pushed that ball and he just commands so much attention when he got it. So it's like, man, but everybody else, you get out of here. Though.
His energy is contagious, and you can see it.
Oh,
amongst
man,
the fans
very,
and
very.
his teammates. He pushes the pace to the level that the 76ers may not even be comfortable playing with their veteran squad, but it's necessary. And he's the one guy who can take on that responsibility. We saw a lot of that this season in the playoffs, and he's going to develop into being that role that I think ultimately James Harden was supposed to do this past season and a half. But I'm not ready to leave this topic just yet. And I want to ask you a tough question just based on the feedback and your tone and sentiment regarding this. And it sounds like what you want from the franchise moving forward. I just want to ask you straight up, do you think Doc Rivers is the man for this job moving forward as head coach?
Get Glenn out of there. Get Glenn out of there. You got to get somebody in there that the players respect. Get Glenn out of there. Now,
that's
now
a big
you know
statement.
who I think would make it very interesting if he got that head coaching job? 2 S's, 2 L's. Sam Cassell. You know why? Because Sam Cassell has that energy. He has that energy that the younger players will follow. He's a veteran. He's a champion. You know, so then he has the veterans on that team. You know, he can get with them and in their heads. And it's just his overall style. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be aggressive when he's coaching. Like, I guarantee you, the city and that team will feel a lot better and a lot different if 2 S's, 2 L's did take over. But in my opinion, man, yeah, we got to get rid of Glenn, dog. It's time. It's time. We got to get rid of Glenn. I know he got 2 years left on his track, but, yo, we got to get him out of there. We ain't got 2 years. Embiid ain't got 2 years to waste. I'll say that. We got to get him out of it. Like, we need to win this championship, like, now. Like, I know we can't do it now physically, yeah, but we need to win this championship now. Because if not, who's to say when we have a chance to even get this far back into the playoffs? You know, shit. Ain't no 7'2" cats coming along every day like Embiid was, man.
Wow. And you're ready to say goodbye to Harden, I assume, because he wasn't on your list. Player option deuces. You had enough? Even though he won you, by the way, he won you game one.
To come there.
He won you game one single-handedly without Joel. You got to game 7 because of Harden.
But guess what? And it was typical Harden after that. It's been proven with Houston. You know, with any type of playoff shit or when they come to the big games, yeah, he's going to do something good for him. But then what you going to do after that? How you going to back that up? You can't go from sugar to shit. You can't sit up here one game and you got 45, and then the next game you got what, 10? Like, what the fuck? Like, they ain't focusing on you that much. You still can go out there and ball, dog. But hey, it's all water under the bridge now, unfortunately.
I guess we'll just tie the bow on Harden here by me, just my own using the eye test of the situation. That I have this theory sheet that during the regular season now in 2023, that you have so many new referees that you get introduced to, first of all, that you get introduced to at Summer League. But when I'm sitting courtside, what I'm fascinated by is Joey Crawford, Monty McCutcheon, and all of the former like A-listers that would do the finals, that they sit courtside with clipboards and they are itemizing every play. They have like practically a microscope and binoculars on these referees. Every time they miss it, they get a tick, and they're getting report cards based on their performance at Summer League, let alone during the regular season. So when you get those crews during the months of October through April, you get your Bill Kennedys, your David Guthrie's, your Ed Malloy's, and they have their they have their crews that go with them that are the younger refs. And those younger refs are being, once again, so micromanaged that I would consider there to be a lot more strict interpretation of the rule book is a polite way to put it, meaning they're calling the ticky-tack James Harden swipe through fouls, and when he's embellishing content, they're doing it, and I think they're doing it because it's their job to. It's the directive from the top to call those fouls, and they're trying to have ambition as a referee like any normal person would. Now, that's me getting to the point here now that in a Game 7 yesterday in Boston, you've got Scott Foster, you've got Bill Kennedy, you've got Tony Brothers wasn't there, but there's some names that don't necessarily have to be if you fart, that is going to be reviewed for a flagrant foul. That's what it feels like it's during the regular season. These guys are not, they have a much looser interpretation, and they are letting the guys decide the game for themselves. So when Harden falls over and embellishes, Embiid falls over into the third row and doesn't get the whistle, it takes him 5 seconds to get back. It takes James Harden 5 seconds to get back. And now the 76ers have to play power play defense 5-on-4 for a significant period of time, which came back to bite them more times than I can count. And usually James Harden is so explosive with his athleticism, his first step, his creativity, that he can make up for that because he's one of the greatest offensive players of all time. I'm not afraid to say it, even if you don't like him. Statistically, he's an MVP. He's proven it. He's one of very few out there. But now that he's lost that step, and now that he can't finish at the rim and create for others, and his role is pivoting more towards an initiator as opposed to a primary scorer or even a creator, I'm saying he's just on the ball, initiator, get the offense in the hands of the players that are more the alphas, at least in terms of scoring. So now that he's lost that, he's due to make 35.6 or whatever that player option comes out to. Now it's a business decision that maybe Sixers fans would be more open to him coming back at a significantly, take one of those digits off. If he wants to play for $3 million, we'll take him. But now that he's making 35 mil, I don't know if he can carry the burden of a championship aspiring franchise on his shoulder, considering the miles on his odometer. And that's kind of safe to say. That's not taking away anything he's accomplished in the past. But to me, it's pretty apparent. It sounds like to you as well that, you know what, it's best that we go our separate ways. There's nothing wrong with that. And that'll free up some space, certainly, for the 76ers moving forward. Any final words on Harden?
It'll free up a lot of space. You know what I'm saying? We could probably get at least 2 more younger guys in there maybe, for some subpar contracts. But yeah, man, that's a lot of money for a cat who only, going to show up. We played 2 rounds and he only showed up, 2 games? During the regular season, I don't care about that shit. Regular season is regular season. You know what I'm saying? You go out there, have 50, all that. Regular season don't mean shit. It's when you get to the playoffs. That's when it really counts. And for him, with us in the playoffs, that's like oil and water. It don't mix.
So speaking, now this is a great chance to get to our final topic here, which is, you just said, I don't like, if you do that shit during the regular season, it don't matter. You got to prove it to me in the playoffs. And you have said that multiple times about a certain individual that has won an MVP, plays for the Denver Nuggets, and Nikola Jokic. And all he's done in these 2 series thus far is just lay waste to Middle Earth. And he is the best player on the floor by a considerable margin, outside, in, at the rim, from 3, whether it's DeAndre Ayton, Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns. They have all been torched into dust by this man who is leading the entire playoffs single-handedly in triple-doubles versus the entire NBA combined. Still doesn't have enough triple-doubles to match what he's done. Stats aren't everything. But I want to put you as an experienced center, power forward, big man in this league, knowing that Anthony Davis as well has been one of, if not the most influential center in the entire NBA playoffs. They're about to go head-to-head here. So I would love to hear from you. If you were Anthony Davis, how are you guarding Nikola Jokic? And then I want you to answer, if you were Nikola Jokic, how are you guarding Anthony Davis? And also consider their physiques and their athleticism, that Jokic can't jump 5,000 feet in the air like Anthony Davis can. Can you do both for me? Because I'd love to hear this point of view.
That has a lot. So now for AD to try to deal with Joker. Okay, well, we know Joker has a good skill set. We know he can pass. We know he has a different variety of shots. So if I'm AD, the one thing I'm going to focus on is, as I said for the last series with Aiden, got to make it hard on him. Okay? Can't make it too easy for him just to go out there and score. You know what I'm saying? You got to make him play some defense. And if you look at a lot of Denver's passes, you know, they do long court passes. And sometimes Joker's on the receiving end of that for that quick, easy layup. No, AD's going to have to make him work. He's going to have to put him in a lot of pick and rolls. But the main thing, I think, the two things where Anthony Davis has that advantage over Joker is, one, of course, as you just mentioned, his athleticism. And then two is speed. Anthony Davis is going to have to get on that horse. He's going to have to. Because if not, they don't want. I don't think they wanted to turn into like a real half court set with Denver, because Denver has a lot of skilled players, and you know LA could be getting into foul trouble because their bench isn't that deep. So Anthony Davis, best thing to do is run. Just run that floor. Every little, because he does it now for the most part, but he has to do it extra now because he get his tip ins, the tip dunks, the little alley-oop 2-3 foot dunks that's right there. So he's going to have to do a lot of that. Now, from Joker on his side, Joker pretty much going to have to beat him up, because it's like, all right, look, shit, I'm going to go ahead down there on the blocks. I'm going to bump him a little bit. Shit, if I give him one shoulder, shit, that motherfucker might fall. He might be out for the rest of the game. He could have a concussion. It could be something if he falls to the floor. So if I'm Joker, I got to beat him up and just go at him. Just go right back at him. I know I can't deal with his athleticism. I know I might get dunked on a couple times. But I got to get that in my head now, like, okay, if he dunked on me, so what? We still got to push the ball. We still got to move it. Instead of he dunked on me, now it's like, damn, right? He just put that shit on my head. Now I'm all discombobulated on offense. Now I'm so worried about trying to get him back. No, just go out there and play. You got to beat AD up, because we all know, Mr. Glass is what they like to call him on the street. So, one, you blowing him too hard, he might fall over, hurt himself, and could be out for the game. Or, in my opinion, any type of minutes or possessions that AD is out of the game is very key for the Lakers.
That is usually when they need to survive. Now, granted, Rui Hachimura has done just a fine job in filling in there, but
that was a great pickup. Great him. And what's the other kid? Lonnie
Vanderbilt.
Great pickups.
Yeah. So Rui might go down as the trade deadline transaction of the year, considering how he's been able to hold down the fort, and the Lakers don't lose anything when AD's been coming off. Now, granted, when AD's out there and he's healthy and he's engaged, they look invincible because Anthony Davis is that level of talent. But he has not seen anything like this version of Nikola Jokic. The 2020 bubble version was pre-MVP. This is really as heavyweight of a, not even talking about Lakers versus Nuggets. We're talking about this one. Jokic versus Anthony Davis could be the biggest two ends of the extreme in terms of styles in fights. You got a southpaw, a slugger versus the speedy, traditional right hand if it was a boxing fight. And Mayweather Pacquiao in that way. I guess Pacquiao was the fast, right? Pacquiao likes to throw hands. He's all speed. Mayweather's trying to drag you into the deep end and play defense. And AD versus Jokic really checks off all the boxes with any of those analogies moving forward. So it sounds like beating up AD physically, and then AD putting Jokic to the test in a way that has not occurred just yet in terms of running the full court. The Lakers won a championship in the bubble, making defensive rebounds, not even turnover, Sheed, but they turned defensive rebounds into fast breaks. They did that.
Yep.
They did that in games. Go ahead.
And see, you just said it. Turning them defensive rebounds into fast break points. And what was AD doing?
Busting his ass. Yeah.
Man, he was out.
Make Jokic play 94 feet or 92 feet, however long the court is nowadays. Put him to that test, because we haven't seen him have to run like that against an athlete of this caliber. just yet in these playoffs. So very interested to see
Man.
both guys in the peak of their forms. Only time will tell, and that's why they play the game. And speaking of the game, we like to end our show with a segment called Respect the Game. And this is now a player that Rasheed had either experience with or looked up to as a role model in his past that had influence on his career and his life that the viewers may need some education on. So without further ado, who is today's Respect the Game character?
Well, today's Respect the Game player is a good friend of mine, Sean Elliott. He was the third overall pick in the '89 draft to the San Antonio Spurs, and he pretty much spent his whole career with the Spurs. He's a great dude, great human being, has a great aura. He went to the University of Arizona. He was one of the top scorers there for that school. But Sean, he's an NBA champion. Unfortunately, yeah, he beat us when I was playing in Portland. But he's also known for hitting a crazy, unbelievable shot on yours truly, which I gotta tip my hat to the man. It was a hell of a fucking shot that he hit against me when we were playing the Spurs in Portland in the playoffs. I think it was 98 or 99, one of the two, the year that they won it though. And but overall, he was a tenacious defender. He was athletic as hell, and he was a good overall dude. Like, I never heard Sean Elliott trash talk. You know what I'm saying? I never heard him going out there saying, "I'm gonna bust your ass tonight," or any of that. And to this day, right now, you know, I think if I'm not mistaken, he does radio/TV with the Spurs. And he's pretty much, like I said, an overall great guy, man, and good human being. And you know, those are the type of people that you have to look at as more than just a basketball player, because he does a lot more things for his community and other than just play basketball. So
And
today's
I
Respect
just
the
looked
Game
this
player
up,
to
but
me.
he had a kidney transplant surgery in 1999. If I'm not mistaken, didn't he come back from that and keep playing either
Yeah, he
mid-year?
came back.
Yeah, like that's I remember that because they were playing the Knicks in the finals, and I don't know if that was before, or after, whatever, but that was right in the middle of like his prime, and
Yeah.
was able to bounce back from that, and people kind of forgot about it. But that's a major deal. So
Hell yeah, because shit, 'cause you might need that little kidney, especially playing
Yeah,
basketball.
no shit.
You know, you taking a lot of them back shots and everything, man. It's bad, man.
So this is usually when I sign off, but since we had a really good show, and now I feel like I was thinking about dropping this screenshot into the show at some point earlier, but I didn't want to put you in a bad mood. But I promised there's a front office former front office executive who now works for ESPN, and he had this stat which I responded to immediately. I'm like, I got to show Sheed this. I want to just get your immediate reaction. So Harden, well, we talked about Harden, is 2 of 8. He has already shot under 30% when facing elimination 5 times in his career. That is tied with Rasheed Wallace for the most such games in the shot clock era on minimum 10 field goal attempts. Rasheed, I thought we were clutch. Wait, what are you doing jacking up all these shots and missing when the game is on the line?
Oh yeah, that I for sure tell you that had to been when I was in Portland. You know, I had more of a green light to put them shits up in Portland over than I did in Detroit. But yeah, you know, hey, it was part of it. But the one thing that was different though, I'm pretty sure that was probably one of the 2 seasons where I had to play the 3 under Mike Dunleavy. So he had Sabonis started the 5, Brian Grant started the 4, and I was the 3. So I mean, I wasn't really used to just shooting threes throughout the game. You know, end of the quarter situations, yeah, all right. You know, end the shot clock, you got to put up a 9-1-1. But as for a regular part of the play, coming down and there's still like 10 seconds left on the shot clock, and he was like, just go ahead and shoot it. I was like, man, I ain't too comfortable with taking all these fucking threes and this and that. And he's like, man, just go out there and shoot it. I was like, all right. If that's what you want me to do.
I got the green light. I love hearing, I got the green light in this bitch. I'm getting these threes up. This was before the age of centers being accepted to shoot threes in today's game, and it's almost expected. Back then, you'd be jacking that shit up. You're at the end of the bench almost instantly.
Oh yeah, you coming out quick.
Yeah, you're getting the Patrick Ewing. When did you practice this shot? When have you ever attempted this shot? That famous moment where he's barking at his guys on the bench. That's good to know. And I'm glad I at least could get an explanation regarding that, because I'm like, no, not she. No, of all people. Don't tell me he's less clutch than James Harden. And I needed to clear this up. So nice to know that this was more of you're playing the three, even though you're a 7-foot guy over here, and you don't really attempt that. We just need you to play the three, because that's, I guess, what the effect of Shaquille O'Neal does. All right. On that note. This is, I feel like this is a good time to sign off. I've enjoyed this episode. I hope you watching this that have made it this far have as well. We will be back, hopefully, same time, same place next week for some more analysis. And we'll see maybe Doc Rivers is or isn't still the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. We'll get some reactions to that as well. So for Roscoe Rasheed Wallace, I'm Rob Perez, Worldwide Wob, for this episode of That's What She'd Said. See you on the timeline.
Yeah. And get Glenn the fuck out of here.